The Galaxy S22 ULTRA is more than just a normal S series phone, and we'll be taking a look right after this. Today's video is sponsored by Torres Cases to keep your phone protected at all times. Thanks to Torres Cases, you can keep your Galaxy S22 protected against drops and falls with a variety of different cases. We've got the Torres Guardian or Torres Shockproof, and this provides heavy-duty protection. It's certified military drop protection, endured 2,500 plus drops without damaging from a height of 6 foot. Its slim design makes it comfortable to hold, and it also has a grippier surface to prevent drops. It's compatible with wireless charging, and it looks great on my S22 ULTRA, and it's available in black or navy blue. We've got the clear Torres Moon Climber that again has military armor shockproof design and a very clear material for those that really want to enjoy the color variant that they've chosen. It comes with a metal kickstand for a hands-free viewing, and whether you want it in landscape or portrait mode, the stand is incredibly useful. It's another slim design, and it really fits well onto my S22 ULTRA. Now finally, we've got the Mars Climber available in smoke white or mystic black. It's another hands-free case that provides 3 adjustable angles of watching thanks to the kickstand on the back. We get professional military grade protection thanks to the hard PC back, along with a flexible TPU frame. We get a raised lip over the display to prevent the screen from rubbing against any flat surfaces, and the case fits well and provides a firm grip. It's wireless charger friendly, and it's got a really premium feel thanks to the matte nano oleophobic coating. Now whichever type of case you prefer, Torres has something to suit, and I've placed links to their cases down in the description below, so go ahead and check them out now. So the Galaxy S22 ULTRA is probably the biggest change to the S series that we've seen in a very long time. Yes, it's still packed out with the most premium specs, it's the largest phone in the series and also the most expensive, but if you saw this phone last year without knowing its name, would you think it was the new Note? Of course, Samsung have already ended the Note line, and they have essentially merged these two together, and while there's lots of mixed opinions on this, I personally think it is for the best. There were too many similarities between the Note and the S ULTRA, so it just makes sense to only manufacture one of these premium phones. Of course, the biggest changes to this year's S22 ULTRA from its predecessor is the more square-shaped look and the much more subtle camera module. I'm personally a fan of this new look, and I've seen many people complain about the flatter edges being uncomfortable to hold, but I don't feel the same way. It's large and squared, but there's still a curve between the front display, the frame and the back panel. Now I was previously a big fan of the Note, however, so I'll try and be as unbiased as I can. Now when it comes to the camera module, it's a lot more subtle than the S21 ULTRA, and I do like its subtlety, but at the same time it does lack a bit of character. The S21 ULTRA was a bold and large design, whereas this just looks a lot more plain. After seeing it in so many renders, I thought maybe I would have a different opinion when seeing it in person, but I do still feel the same. I also worry about these lenses as they do protrude slightly from the back panel, so if you don't use a case and you drop this phone on the back, there's a good chance that the lenses are going to be the first point of contact. Now when it comes to the front, as you'd expect from Samsung, we've got an incredible display. It's bright, vibrant and very responsive. It's a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, and a peak brightness of 1750 nits. We get a Quad HD resolution of 1440 by 3088, and this gives us a pixel density of 500 pixels per inch, and it's protected by Corning's Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. It's an LTPO display, and this panel can drop all the way down to 1 Hz when there's nothing to display, and this is great for those concerned about battery. We've got an in-display fingerprint scanner on the front. It's an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner and it works well. It's fast, smooth and responsive, and overall it's just a pleasure to use. We've also got facial recognition, and again this works well and it's worked pretty much every time. Even when wearing glasses, it unlocks most of the time, although when I've got my glasses on a couple of times I have had to enter the PIN number. Now we've got a punch hole camera on the top, and this houses a 40 megapixel wide angle camera, and it's capable of 4K video at 60 frames a second. When it comes to the curved edges, I think yet again they've done a great job. There's just enough curvature to give it the premium look and make it comfortable to hold, but it's not too much to cause screen mistouch. While last year's Ultra was the first to support the S Pen, with the S22 Ultra we of course have the S Pen housed inside the phone itself, and we also get a new and improved S Pen. Now it sits nicely in the housing and there's a very satisfying click when you press it. My only slight complaint here is that when you click it, it doesn't come out too far and I find myself having to pinch the edge of the pen and it's not as easy to remove as I'd like. Now when it comes to the new S Pen though, of course it's got a much improved latency of just 2.8 milliseconds to deliver a much more responsive experience. It also uses AI to predict the path to make the seam even smoother, and overall it's just incredible. I saw some marketing saying it was a more natural writing experience and like writing on paper. Now this is much improved, it feels great to write on and even makes a sound to simulate writing, and it does feel pretty instantaneous, but we're still writing on glass and it feels nothing like writing on paper. Another great feature though is when the phone is off, if you pull out the S Pen it automatically brings up notes if you want to quickly write something down, and of course if you remove it when the screen is on, you get the usual list of features like notes, screen write, smart select and more. In terms of the hardware, of course it comes with either the Exynos 2200 or the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 depending on your region. When it comes to memory and storage, we've also got an upgrade as well as a downgrade. For storage options you can choose from 128 all the way up to 1TB of storage, but for the S22 Ultra the base model has actually dropped to just 8GB of RAM and the rest of the variants come with 12GB, so there's no 16GB option this time. Now that being said, I think before RAM got to the stage where it's just being put in for marketing just to deliver those higher numbers. So I've opted for the 8GB of RAM, 128GB storage, as I don't need a lot of storage and 8GB of RAM is plenty. In my real world use, I don't think I'll see any benefit from the larger memory. Now for those concerned about synthetic benchmarks, I've ran this through Geekbench 5 and it scored 1159 single core and 3598 for multi. So we've got a reasonable improvement from last year's, and of course this is the Exynos variant. I expect higher numbers from the Snapdragon. The Exynos 2200 is still a flagship chipset though, and whether you're editing or playing the latest mobile games on this phone, it's going to power through them with no problems. I've tried a few of the latest games and they perform brilliantly. With such an impressive display, it's just a pleasure to use. The stereo speakers are also great, they go loud, they're crisp and they're clear. For gaming with the speakers or watching media like YouTube, it's just incredible. The only thing to mention really is for those of you that do watch a lot of media is about the curved edges. You'll get a small amount of the video going just over the curve at the top and the bottom, and then you've also got a small black border. Now personally this doesn't bother me, but I can see this frustrating some people who just want the full screen video displayed. Now battery performance has also been good so far. Again, this is the first impressions video, so I haven't had it long enough to go in depth, but most days I am finding myself with at least 30% left at the end of the day, and that is after relatively heavy use. We also have an upgrade to the fast charging on the S22 Ultra, and we now get 45 watts of peak power when charging. We also get 15 watt wireless charging and 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging. When it comes to the cameras, the layout is the same as last year's, and we've got the same configuration as well, although the hardware is slightly different and there are improvements. For those unaware, we've got the ultra wide camera at the top. Now this is a 12 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2. It's got a 120 degree field of view, and it's also got dual pixel phase detect autofocus and super steady video. Next, we've got the primary camera. It's a 108 megapixel wide angle. It's got an aperture of f1.8. We get phase detect autofocus, laser autofocus, and optical image stabilization. Next, we've got the 10 megapixel telephoto, and this is the periscope camera, which gives you 10 times optical zoom. We get an aperture of f4.9, dual pixel phase detect autofocus, and optical image stabilization. Finally, we've got another 10 megapixel telephoto, but this time we get 3 times optical zoom. It's got an aperture of f2.4, dual pixel phase detect autofocus, and optical stabilization. In terms of the photo and video, we're going to go a lot more in depth in the full review, review, but the cameras are impressive. It's a flagship phone and it's producing flagship quality photo and video. It's not a huge upgrade from the predecessor, but it's providing impressive photo and video, and I don't really have anything bad to say. With video, the stabilization is great from all of the cameras. We get good quality video and we've got a choice of 4K or Full HD, as well as a choice of 30 or 60 frames a second. Now, one slight annoyance I have is that when filming in Full HD, I can change the lenses while recording by just pressing the buttons over to the right, whereas if I'm in 4K mode, I can't easily change between these lenses and I have to pinch and zoom instead. Now overall though, the video quality is great. It's smooth and stable in both 4K and Full HD, and even recording at 10 times zoom without a tripod, we still get nice clear footage. Now there's also an option for 8K at 24 frames a second, but I personally just don't like this. It's cropped more than the 4K mode, and it's also too choppy. It's got a lower frame rate of 24 frames a second, and I wish it would at least be 30. Now when it comes to taking photos though, it's great. I took it for a walk and just did some pointing and shooting, but we get so much detail with great lighting and color. When it comes to portrait shots, it also does a great job with the edge detection, and you can use this mode for people, animals, and pretty much any object you want. Now as always with smartphones, portrait isn't 100% perfect. You may find a few minor mistakes if you look closely, but overall it does a great job and better than most other phones. Nighttime mode also works well. It provides a lot of detail and brings in a lot more light. It's very similar to what the Pixel does, however, and it makes it a lot more brighter than the scene actually was in real life. So if this is something you like, then great, but it may not be for everyone. In terms of the software, it comes with One UI 4.1, and again, this is just a first impressions video, so we're not going to go into too much detail, but of course it's similar to the previous One UI 4. We've just got a few improvements, like being able to choose how much storage is used as RAM in the RAM Plus mode, improvements to Samsung Pay, and many other minor changes. We've also got a new X-axis vibration motor, and it feels nice. It's great for typing and pressing the on-screen buttons. Now it's not groundbreakingly new, but I do prefer it to the previous Y-axis motors. So of course, we're going to go into a lot more detail on the full review, but the question many of you may want to know is it worth buying? Well, it's a great phone and I am a big fan of this, but it's not for everyone. If you've got an S21 Ultra, then there's certainly no need to be upgrading unless it's specifically for the S Pen. And in terms of choosing between the S21 Ultra and the S22 Ultra for your upgrade, I would base your opinion on the one you prefer the look of rather than the hardware, as there are just too many similarities. Now of course, there's going to be people who haven't upgraded their phone for some time and want the latest S phone, as well as those that previously purchased the Note and you've been missing it since it was discontinued. Now for you guys, it's definitely worth the upgrade. It's a flagship phone, it's got a great display, great cameras, and great hardware. Now hopefully I've covered enough today, but of course in a few weeks I'll be posting a much more detailed video, and if you do have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.